Good morning, family. I hope that you're doing so well. I'm really happy to be sharing this morning's devotional with you. This week, of course, our focus is pray like Daniel. And I found something quite interesting when I was reading one of the chapters that I'm really happy to be sharing with you this morning. Now, of course, the book of Daniel itself has the theme of God being sovereign running all throughout this book, and it's filled with phenomenal stories of how the Lord intervened. And Daniel himself is known for his habitual prayer life, and that sometimes got him into trouble, admittedly. But there are many principles that we can glean from this book and the experiences that were had. And I'll be specifically reading from chapter 10. And just to give a little bit of context around this chapter, as Pastor Natasha shared on Sunday, this portion of scripture is coming at a time when Daniel had just received this revelation that really troubled him. It was a revelation concerning a great war, and it troubled him to the point where he decided to take 3 weeks to fast and pray. And after the time had come to pass that he had finished fasting and praying, he received this vision in which only he could see this angel. And this angel was sent in response, or to deliver a response to him. And particularly verse 12 is the response from this angel. And he's talking to Daniel. And we know from this experience, Daniel was really terrified. And yeah, we read about that. But anyway, let's focus on this verse, and I'm going to read it. It says, "Do not be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day that you set your mind to gain understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to them." The part I wanted us to look at is him saying, your words were heard. And one of the commentators that speaks about, or that comments on this particular portion of scripture says this, and I quote, "This verse constitutes a great encouragement to those whose prayers are not answered immediately. The cause of the delay may be something totally unknown to us, yet although the answer may be delayed, the prayer is always heard immediately." And for me, this paints a picture of an attentive God who's constantly working behind the scenes. And there's a story that I came across a few days back that I really feel fits well in here. And it's a story of this man who was shipwrecked. And of course, he was deserted on this island and no means of getting back into the world and all that. And the first response was, he prayed and he asked God to rescue him and send help. And for a couple of days, his prayer was the same. But after that, he decided to, get comfortable and try and survive. And so he built himself a shelter. He made himself some tools. He would go out and hunt. He would go fishing. He would try to make do with the circumstance that he found himself in. But on one particular day, he had left his shelter and it had all of his few belongings, and he left it and he went out fishing. And on his way back, he saw his shelter was on fire, and he ran to the shelter, and by the time he got there, the fire was too great to even do anything to try and save it. And his initial response was distress. He was upset, of course, and he cried out to God, "Why would you let this happen? Look, I'm here in this situation and now this fire is going on." And he was just pouring out his heart and his anger towards the Lord. Well, while he was doing that, he looked up and he saw out on the waters a huge ship coming towards him. And he proceeded to shout and scream and try and get their attention. And eventually the ship sent out a small boat to go and collect him. And so it collected him and took him back to the ship. And on the ship, he got the opportunity to speak to the ship's captain. And he asked the captain, "How did you know to come find me here?" And the captain's response was this. We were heading in the total opposite direction when we noticed smoke coming from this direction, and we decided to come and check it out. And I think the amazing thing, or the moral of the story, is that this man prayed to be rescued. And even though he wasn't immediately rescued, the Lord did make a way. We have no idea how this fire started, but that's the way in which the Lord chose to have this man rescued. And I think if there are three things I'd really like you to take from this devotional this morning, it would be one, that prayer is powerful. There is power in prayer. Two, our prayers do not fall on deaf ears. And three, our God is constantly working behind the scenes, even when it doesn't fit the mold that we think should be the way in which He answers our prayers. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have been greatly encouraged, and I pray that the rest of this week is a fruitful one for you.